What if I told you that in 2025, the words I am will no longer be enough? You may have whispered them in prayer, written them in journal, repeated them in front of a mirror, hoping the echo of those two words would change something in your life. And yet, for so many, the body is not followed. The heart beats in anxiety while the lips say, I am calm. The cells vibrate with exhaustion while the mind declares, I am full of energy. Wait, this silent dissonance is the hidden pain of our time, the split between what the spirit longs to affirm and what the body quietly confesses. Perhaps you know what it feels like to carry this contradiction. You say, I am health, while a shadow of illness whispers through your vein. You say, I am love, while your chest still remembers the ache of loss. You declare, I am abundant, but your nervous system trembles with the fear of not having enough. This is not because you have failed, or because your affirmations are weak. It is because the body has its own voice, its own memory, its own way of speaking truth. And if the body and the mind are not in harmony, your I am becomes little more than static in the air. Science itself is now revealing what mystics have always known. Dr. Bruce Lipton has shown us that beliefs are not just thoughts, they are the software of our biology. They script the way our cells behave. And Joe Dispenza reminds us that coherence between the heart and the brain is not a mystical idea, but a measurable state. When the rhythms of the heart and the brain fall into harmony, the electromagnetic field of the body shifts. Intention becomes signal, words become frequency, and I am begins to take shape not only in the mind, but in matter. Without this coherence, however, our lives feel like a radio stuck between stations. There is noise, fragments of sound, but never the music. We long for harmony, but what we experience is distortion. And in that distortion, even the most beautiful affirmations lose their power, not because the words are wrong, but because the channel is misaligned. The truth is this: the universe is always listening, but it responds not to the volume of your voice, it responds to the vibration of your being. So the journey we will walk together here is not about repeating I am louder or with more determination. It is not about forcing yourself to believe what your cells are not ready to accept. This journey is about learning how to align your frequency with your words, so that the statement I am becomes more than language. It becomes embodied truth. It becomes a resonance that your biology confirms, your heart sustains, and the field of life responds to. I want you to know, right here at the beginning, that you are not alone in this struggle. If you have felt like nothing changes, no matter how much you affirm, if you have feared that perhaps the universe is silent, if you have wondered whether you are truly worthy of a new life, I see, and I promise you, the silence you hear is not absence. It is an invitation to tune your body, your heart, and your mind into coherence, so that what you declare and what you live finally become one and the same. Take a deep breath now. Feel your chest rise. Feel the weight of this moment, and hear these words as if they were spoken from within you. 2025 is not demanding a louder I am. It is calling for a deeper one that is no longer fractured between thought and feeling, one that your cell, your breath, and your very frequency carry into reality. This is where we begin. The invisible error saying, I am, with a body that says, I am not. There is a silence that few dare to name, the silence of the body contradicting the words of the mind. You say, I am at peace, but your shoulders remain tense, your jaw tightens, your breath stays shallow. You repeat, I am free, and yet the rhythm of your heart beats in the language of survival. This invisible error is not your fault. It is the split that modern life has carved into us. One voice in the mind, another voice in the body, and when they do not agree, affirmation becomes a whisper lost in the wind. Science shows us how this contradiction unfolds inside the body. Under the constant weight of stress, the brain signals the release of cortisol and adrenaline, messengers of survival that flood the bloodstream. These hormones sharpen the body for danger, even when there is no danger present. And so, when you declare, I am safe, your biology quietly insists, I am not. The two voices cancel each other out, leaving you caught between the desire for change and the chemical memory of fear. This is why so many fall unknowingly into what can be called a performative spirituality. They say the words, they chant the mantra, they speak their affirmations with effort and devotion, but beneath the surface, the nervous system has not been invited to join the prayer. The lips speak, I am healed, while the body still trembles with the memory of illness. The lips speak, I am abundant, while the breath shortens at the thought of bills and obligations. Without coherence, these practices remain rituals of the surface, unable to sink into the soil of being. And here lies a truth that is often overlooked. The subconscious mind is not a quiet passenger. It processes 40 million bits of information every second, while your conscious mind can only hold 40. This is why Dr. Bruce Lipton calls it a biological mismatch. The conscious affirmation, small and fragile, is drowned out by the immense orchestra of subconscious program, most of it learned in childhood, most of it absorbed before you even had words to choose. You may think of this as planting a seed in poisoned soil. The seed is alive, full of possibility. It knows how to become a tree, but the soil resists, filled with toxins that suffocate its roots. In the same way, your words may be fertile, but the terrain of your body, your nervous system, your chemistry, your subconscious memory may not yet be ready to let them grow. And so the I am remains a dream instead of a living reality. There is no shame in this recognition. It is not a weakness. It is simply a truth. To notice it is to begin to heal it. To see the contraction in your breath when you speak an affirmation is to witness the language of your subconscious. To feel your body resist is not failure. It is guidance. It is showing you where coherence is needed, where alignment is waiting. And from that awareness, a new path begins to open. Have you ever felt this hidden resistance within you? A word that felt true in the mind, but false in the body. This is the first doorway to acknowledge that what we declare and what we embody are not yet the same. And from this place of honesty, the journey toward harmony finally begins. Quantum coherence, the missing ingredient behind every failed manifestation. There is a quiet ache that many carry in secret. They say, I am abundant, but beneath the words lives the constant vibration of financial fear. They say, I am loved, yet a hidden current of unworthiness lingers in the chest like a shadow. They create visions of a future filled with joy, health, and prosperity, but the body continues to rehearse the familiar feeling of loss, scarcity, or solitude. And so the affirmations remain as words, hovering above reality, unable to take root in matter. This gap between thought and embody is where most dreams collapse. It is not that the intention is weak, nor that the universe is deaf. It is that the message never arrives as a clear frequency. Intention without coherence is like a letter never sent, written with hope, but lost in the air. The body broadcasts one vibration, the mind broadcasts another, and the field responds to both. What returns is not harmony, but contradiction. Joe Dispenza has revealed through neuroscience what mystics described in metaphor. When the brain and the heart begin to beat in synchrony, coherence emerges, a state where thoughts and emotions flow in the same rhythm, producing an electromagnetic field that is not fragmented but whole. This coherence is measurable. It is not an abstract ideal. The body becomes a transmitter of harmony, broadcasting a signal clear enough for life itself to respond. Without it, I am is static. With it, I am becomes music. Here lies a hidden truth that transforms the way we understand manifestation. Thought alone does not impress the field. To think, I am free is not enough. To think, I am healed is not enough. Without the elevation of emotion, gratitude, love, joy, presence, the thought remains an empty sketch. The body must feel the thought as real. The heart must carry the vibration of what the mind imagined. It is in this union that the invisible begins to move toward form. You may picture it as trying to access a sacred place with the right password, but on the wrong keyboard. You type the correct letter, but the system cannot recognize. The words are right, but the alignment is missing. This is what happens when affirmations are spoken without coherence. The I am may be noble, powerful, full of possibility, but the body rejects the signal because it does not match the rhythm it knows. This is why those who have affirmed for years often feel weary, wondering why change has not come. It is not because they lack faith, but because their frequency has not been tuned to the music of their words. Once coherence entered, once thought and emotion embrace, the affirmation becomes more than sound. It becomes energy. It becomes a command that life itself cannot ignore. Have you ever noticed that the moments you felt truly alive, moments of deep gratitude, pure love, stillness, and awe of the universe, those moments needed no affirmation at all? In those instants, your whole being declared, I am, without words. That is coherence. That is the missing ingredient behind every failed manifestation, and that is the place where a new kind of creation begins. Beware of false I am, when identity becomes a cage instead of a key. There are I ams that liberate, and there are I ams that imprison. Many people live bound not by external change, but by the silent affirmations they have repeated to themselves, without even realizing. I am unlucky. I am too old. I am not creative. These words are rarely spoken aloud, but they echo within the mind and body like a quiet decree. With time, they cease to feel like thoughts and begin to feel like identity itself. And once identity hardens, reality follows its shape. Dr. Bruce Lipton has shown us through epigenetics that repeated beliefs have the power to switch genetic expressions on or off. This means that when you affirm, I am limited long enough, your very biology begins to comply. The cells reorganize according to the command, not because it is true, but because the repetition has carved it into the subconscious as law. In this way, the false I am becomes a biological reality, molding body and life into its narrow form. What makes this even more subtle is that even seemingly positive identities can trap to say, I am strong, may sound empowering, but it can also lock you into a mask of invulnerability. It may keep you from admitting exhaustion, from asking for help, from surrendering when surrender is the only path to healing. To say, I am independent may seem noble, yet it can prevent you from allowing intimacy and receiving support. The danger is not only in the negative I am, but in any identity that closes rather than expands the field of possibility. Think for a moment about the identities you have carried like medals or like scars. How many have silently dictated the way you move through life? Perhaps you have worn the title of survivor, yet it has kept you from ever feeling safe. Perhaps you have called yourself a provider, yet it has made you believe your worth is measured only in what you, identity, when unquestioned, becomes destined. The image is of a bird inside a golden. The cage is beautiful, shining with light, and the bird sings with pride for the world to hear. Yet the wings never open. The sky remains untouched. This is what happens when identity becomes a cage instead of a key. The beauty of the cage distracts from the fact that freedom has been sacrificed, and so life is lived within invisible bars, mistaken for truth. But here is the gift hidden in this recognition. Identity is not fixed. It is a song we have learned to sing, but songs can change. To notice which I ams confine rather than liberate is to open a door within the mind. It is to realize that the self you defend may not be the self your soul longs to express. And when that realization dawns, a new horizon begins to appear. One where the I am is no longer a prison, but a key that unlocks the infinite. Have you felt the weight of a false I am within you? A name you did not choose, yet carried for years as if it were the truth. To bring awareness to is to place your hand on the lock of the cave, and to question it is to begin to find the key. The silent factor that sabotages your I am, emotional memory. There is a reason why certain affirmations feel hollow. Even when spoken with conviction, the words travel through the lips, but deep within the body. Another whispers loud. This is the power of emotional memory. Traumas do not vanish when time passes. They leave imprints, invisible tattoos etched into the nervous system, shaping how the body responds to the present. So when you affirm, I am safe, but the body still carries the imprint of danger, the statement collides with an older truth that refuses to be ignored. Dr. Joe Dispenza reminds us through neuroscience that neurons which fire together wire together. Emotional memories are not abstract. They are circuits, patterns of firing and connection that replay like broken records inside the brain and body. Each time the old emotion is triggered, the pattern strengthens, and the body learns to expect it as reality. This is why many people find themselves repeating cycles they thought they had left behind. It is not lack of willpower. It is that the emotional memory has rehearsed itself into permanence. The expectation we must release is the belief that healing requires erasing the past. The truth is that memory does not vanish. What changes is the meaning we give it, the vibration we anchor to it, the way we reframe its influence. Healing is not about forgetting. It is about transforming the emotional signature attached to the event so that the body no longer trembles in its shadow. It is about installing a new association, one that liberates rather than chains. When an I am meets resistance, it is often because it collides with an old memory still alive in the body. Yet this collision is not a barrier, it is a map. It shows us where the past still lingers, waiting to be met with a new vibration. To add a gesture of presence, touching the chest, breathing deep, recalling a vivid moment of safety or love, transforms the affirmation from mere sound into embodied reprogram. The body begins to associate the new words with a different emotional frequency. Over time, neurons rewire, and the old record loses loses its power, dictate the song of the present. You may think of emotional memory as a ghost habiting a house. The ghost is unseen, yet it rearranges the furniture. It shifts the air. It alters the way you move through the rooms. To ignore it is to live in confusion, not knowing why your space feels heavy. But when you acknowledge it, when you invite it into awareness and give it a new role, its haunting ceases. It becomes integrated, and the house becomes a home again. This is the silent factor that sabotages affirmations. It is not the words themselves that fail, but the unseen imprints they collide. To recognize this is not to despair, but to understand that the past need not be erased to stop shaping the future. It only needs a new meaning, a new vibration, new coherence. And when that happens, the I am no longer stands in conflict with memory, but becomes the force that transforms it. Have you felt the ghost of an old memory rise just as you tried to claim a new truth? If so, know this: the presence of that ghost is not your enemy. It is the doorway through which your I am can finally become embodied, no longer denied by the past, but carried forward by a new harmony, from static to symphony, training the body to believe what the mind declares. There are moments when the words I am rise in the throat, but feel like a performance, like wearing clothing that does not yet fit. The mind declares, I am whole, but the body whispers back, I do not believe. In those moments, a quiet sense of fraudulence can emerge, as if you are pretending to be someone you are not. This experience is more common than many admit, and it carries with it a heavy weight of shame. But the truth is, it is not fraudulence. It is simply the natural gap between what the mind envisions and what the body has not yet learned to embody. Bruce Lipton often compares cells to antennas, receivers tuned to vibrational broadcasts. If the broadcast is inconsistent, the mind sending one, the body another, the cells grow confused. They do not know which frequency to follow, and so they mistrust the command. This is why an I am without harmony feels hollow. The cells hear not only the words, but also the dissonance beneath. They respond not to the sound of the declaration, but to the coherence of the signal. Joe Dispenza has shown that the way the body learns to follow the mind is through rehearsal. Not rehearsal in the sense of act, but in the sense of teaching the body to live in the future before it arrives. Each day, the body rehearses familiar emotions, fear, doubt, worry, and so it continues to expect the same future. But when you deliberately rehearse elevated emotion, gratitude, love, joy, presence, the body begins to memorize a new reality. Over time, it learns to believe what the mind declares, until the future is no longer a distant possibility, but a felt state in the present. Think of it like learning to play an instrument. At first, the notes sound false, even unpleasant. The fingers resist, the ears wince. The melody feels impossible, yet with repetition, something begins to change. The strings find resonance, the keys produce harmony. What was once noise becomes music. In the same way, when you allow the body to practice the emotions of your future self, what first feels false gradually becomes natural. The fraudulence fades and the resonance emerges. For this reason, even a brief moment each day of fully feeling your desired state has immense power. Just 90 seconds of inhabiting the energy of your future self, breathing as if it were already true, sensing the weight of it in your body, carrying the texture of it in your heart, begins to shift the frequency. 90 seconds may seem small, but to the body, it is rehearsal, it is training, it is the seed of a new identity beginning to take root. And as with any training, repetition transforms. At first, the affirmation, I am free, may tremble on the lips, contradicted by the weight of the past. But each time the body rehearses the feeling of freedom, the cells align more closely with the signal. Each time the heart carries gratitude for a future not yet visible, coherence deepens, until one day, the words no longer feel borrowed. They no longer feel like a costume. They feel like truth. Have you noticed how repetition changes even the smallest gestures? How something unfamiliar becomes second nature through practice? This is the same with the body's belief. To train it is not to force it, but to gently guide it into resonance, again and again, until the static fades and the symphony emerges. This is how the body learns to trust the mind's declaration, and how the I am becomes not only spoke but lived. Embodied I am, the harmony that reprograms biology and reality. There comes a moment when words are no longer enough, when repetition alone cannot bridge the distance between who you have been and who you long to become. That moment is not failure. It is the threshold where I am must transform from sound into embodiment. To remain in words is to stay in hope. To enter embodiment is to cross into creation. This is the true invitation of 2025, not to invent new affirmations, but to inhabit them so deeply that both biology and frequency confirm them as reality. Bruce Lipton reminds us that belief is not a vague dream, nor a shallow wish. It is a biological command. The subconscious mind, when convinced of an I am, instructs the cells to reorganize in alignment with that truth. Hormones shift, genes are expressed differently. The body begins to act as if the affirmation were a law of nature. It is not imagination, it is physiology. The moment belief is embodied, biology obeys. Joe Dispenza expands this by showing us how coherence becomes the bridge. The instant thought and emotion fall into harmony. The electromagnetic field of the body transforms. The signal sent into the quantum field ceases to be fragmented and becomes whole. This is the point where the affirmation I am ceases to be internal noise and begins to imprint reality itself. It is not about forcing the future to come. It is about becoming the frequency that the future naturally responds to. The metaphor is that of an orchestra and its conductor. The score may be written, the notes may exist, but until the conductor raises the baton and the instruments tune into one another, what emerges is only chaos. When the conductor and the orchestra align, music flows effortlessly, filling the space with coherence. The same is true of life. The mind may hold the vision, but until the body plays in harmony, even the most beautiful script remains unheard. This is why the essence of the I am is not in volume or repetition, but in alignment. To ask yourself each day, does my body agree with my I am, is to step into radical honesty. If the body does not yet agree, it is not a reason for despair. It is an invitation to breathe coherence into the affirmation, to infuse the words with elevated emotion, to train the body to resonate with the frequency of truth until thought and biology become one. The secret of this time is simple, yet profound. Coherence is creation. When your mind declares and your body believes, the universe responds as if it could not do otherwise. The I am ceases to be a request and becomes a declaration written into the very fabric of being. From this place, manifestation is no longer a struggle. It becomes the natural echo of a coherent vibration. So as you step into the days ahead, remember this: you are not searching for a louder I am. You are cultivating a deeper one that flows through thought, emotion, cell and field alike. One that plays not as static but as symphony. One that the body confirms and the universe mirrors back. Let these words rise within you now, not only as affirmation, but as embodiment. I am alive. I am coherent. I am the harmony I seek. And in that harmony, life itself begins to tune to your song.